do a little garden tour. First off are the green stalks on the porch. They're all doing really well, except for this one. So these were cabbages and kale, and honestly at this point it's just too hot. They're done. So I thought about letting some of these go to seed. I still might leave them, but honestly I have a lot of other stuff I could plant, so I think maybe this weekend I will rip all of this stuff out and start over. With maybe some Swiss chard or green beans or something. So on all these towers on the porch, they kind of miss out on morning and afternoon sun, except for the front sides. It's not until later in the day that it gets more onto the porch. But I've noticed that the microdwarf tomatoes do fine. So these are all microdwarf tomatoes. They don't really get much over a foot, if even that tall. So the tops of all 4 of these towers are mostly microdwarf tomatoes. I found that they don't do as well on the bottom, so we're keeping them up top. But I also mix in some flowers because who doesn't love flowers? Let's see. I don't want to go through every plant, but I really like the petunias in this gray green stalk. I've noticed the lower tomatoes aren't as quick to put on fruit, but they still do okay. I try to keep 1 or 2 varieties per tier of green stalk, so I don't have to make as many labels. I just kind of have a label with an arrow that shows what's next, if there's multiple of the same plant. Also, there's not as many ripe tomatoes on here because I do go through and eat them pretty regularly. This one's fun. So this is the fat frog, and it ripens, camera, it ripens kind of, I don't know, ochre color. It starts out green, and then I thought it ripened green, but not really. It actually has a pretty good indicator of when it's ripe. But the cool thing is when you bite into it, the inside is green. So it is still a green tomato. God, this guy is so unhappy looking. I don't know why this tomato is so sad, but it makes really pretty tomatoes. This is the micro sun. So it's like mostly purple from the anthocyanins, but it's yellow inside, which is cool. So I like that one. Towards the bottom of most of these green stalks, like bottom, obviously I have like coleus and random stuff. I have more kale over here that also needs to come out because the cabbage moths, as you can see, really like to destroy them. More tomatoes. These are fun. I like the bigger ones, but the small ones are fine too because, you know, a bite-sized snack, pretty nice. But yeah, so the middle tiers of these are mostly ornamental peppers. So we got some peppers coming in. They're a little slower on the porch because, like I said, they don't really get a full day of sun. But it's really hot here, so you know most of these plants don't love the climate here, anyways. But yeah, so most of my pretty peppers are up here. Ones that are more for the foliage or just have small peppers. We'll swing around. Try not to make this tour too long, but I know it will be because it's me and I talk a lot. This one is the tiny tiger. This one's definitely one of my favorite microdwarfs because how pretty that is. That is so pretty. It starts off, and honestly it's pretty even before it's ripe. You know, it's got the dark green and the light green, and the dark green part is actually the part that turns like this golden yellow when it is ripe. So that one's a lot of fun, and it tastes good, and it's a little bit bigger than, you know, some of the other microdwarfs. This one's also big. This one's like the raindrop, I think. Down. I try to put the bigger microdwarf tomatoes on the lower tier, and then do smaller on the way up. More sad kale, but I did kind of plant some green beans. I guess that's the only one that came up. Not sure about that. Vinca down at the bottom. We got some basil. Good stuff. You can kind of see the plants a little better from this side with the sun. You can see my mess back there that I haven't cleaned up yet. Getting some little peppers, which is cool. Sometimes these get like trapped under the labels, so I have to kind of pull them out. Coleus is actually doing really well. That's the first time I've put coleus in like full sun in a green stalk, and honestly, like the red ones do really well. So I'm gonna continue that. This tomato it still has not produced tomatoes yet, and it's more of a, it's like a mini dwarf, not really a micro dwarf, so it does get bigger. But it looks kind of, strange compared to the other ones, if you can see them, because it's lighter. But that's like part of the genetics of it, is it's like chartreuse leaves, and I've noticed it hasn't had as many issues with disease. I mean, obviously on like the bottom, you know, you're always gonna get yucky leaves at the bottom, but it's been doing really well. It's just kind of slower to make tomatoes, but it's called Groovy Tunes, so I'm excited about that one. This is the first year I'm growing that. It's sad cabbage, you know, and I didn't even eat it. Like most of the stuff I just feed to the rabbit, and my rabbit, not the wild rabbits. You'll probably see them too when we get out into the garden. But I'll come out here and grab my bunny some snacks, because he doesn't mind if the cabbage worms have already eaten half of it. Okay, so onto the garden. We'll do a quick pan. It was supposed to rain today, and it doesn't appear to be raining, so we're out here. This is my first year at the greenhouse, if you haven't seen that. I'll show you. Well, we'll go in there. It's brutally hot in there, so at this point this is just like an area where I dry stuff, and where stuff is just kind of waiting to die. I know you won't be able to read the temperature, but it's showing 99 right now, and it's 11 o'clock, so it gets very hot. Now that it's summer, more or less, it gets up above 100 every day in here. So I am drying some flowers. We got mostly status. So like when you look at the garden, you won't actually see very much of these flowers out there, because I've been picking them basically as soon as they're ready and bringing them in here to dry, because I want to do some fun craft projects with them. There are still some plants in here that I might plant out, like these microdwarfs are done. I actually planted them in December as like a, I don't know, science experiment, I guess. So I'm not doing anything with those. They're just in here. These are my pep cans. They're doing fine. They probably don't enjoy how hot it is in here later. I've got some seeds starting here. We got some marigolds, some gomphrena babies, and just some tradescantia cuttings that I'm rerooting. And some cosmos, because I have a million of them and I apparently want more. Anyways, so that's the greenhouse. It's miserably hot in there. Like I said, everything's done in there basically. Let's see where to start. So I have a bunch of green stalks out here. There's two over there. We got 3 here, and then 3 on this side, and then obviously I have the 5 on the porch. See, look at that cabbage moth. He's looking for more of my kale to destroy. But yeah, I tried to, obviously these green stalks up front are shorter because they're not level. The ground's too hard. I didn't bother to level these, so I kept them lower so the wind wouldn't knock them over. And I wanted them to be more ornamental, so planted flowers in them. Mostly. There's some other random stuff in here. Like this is obviously a tomato. Don't know what kind it is. It just sprouted from the soil that I put in here. So this is the Buddy Purple Gomphrena. It's so cute. It stays dwarf, and it looks so good in these towers. Now you might look here and be like, hey, yep, you have grass growing in your green stalk. I do have grass growing in it, and I planted it intentionally because this is bunny tails grass, so it makes these cute little plumes. Actually, I have one over here. I'm gonna show you. Look at that. Look at how cute that is. Now that's tiny because this isn't getting very much sun. So I planted these from seed, and then I transplanted them out here, and then when I was weeding, I realized that I was actually ripping them up later. So because it just looks like grass, and you know, grass grows everywhere, and I want to pull it out. So I started putting some of it in here to protect it from me pulling it out and throwing it away after all the work I did to plant it in the first place. So I think once it starts making the little seed heads, then maybe I won't be inclined to pull it out and think it's trash, but I don't know. We'll see. I got some carrots in here that I started like really early on, and you know, I've just kind of planted around them. Obviously I packed these at the front, and they look so good, but they're definitely packed. This is cilantro that's gone to seed, but I like saving seed from my cilantro because cilantro lasts all of about like 3 weeks here before it goes to seed. So I go through a lot of cilantro seed. These verbena, you'll see a lot more of them. They're so cute. I love them in the green stalks. They kind of trail a little more than I want, but actually if you cut them back, they do pretty good. Like coming back. These are green beans. I do kind of have scattered green beans throughout the towers because they grow fast. They do well in here. This one's fun. This is a, I think it's called like Red Raven. Something Raven, celosia, which is really pretty. I bought it as a cut flower, but like, so I have more of them growing here. I kind of have several scattered throughout, and they're so short. So I don't think these are cutting flowers, or else I did something wrong, but they are very, very small. So next year when I grow them, I will make sure they stay, I guess, at the top of the green stalk where they won't get hidden. This is another celosia, but I wish you could feel it because it feels really cool. I have more of this, again, growing down there, and it's getting shaded out by this other stuff, so it looks terrible. I have some yellow ones too, but I have been harvesting those to dry them because celosia is also good dried flower. These are ageratum. Most of them are these like fluffy blue. I think they're also called like floss flower or something like that. These are vincas. I have them all over the place. Vincas and Gomfrino, which is what this is, they probably grow the best here. I'm in Oklahoma 7B, and it gets very, very hot. It's similar to Texas, just it gets colder here too. So they do so well here because it's hot and gross all summer, and they don't mind that. They like that. They like full sun and hot and gross. This is Status. Love this for a dried flower. Most of these I've picked off and put them in the greenhouse to dry, but some of them are still like opening. Then I'll leave them on here for a few more days before I pick them. And this is just from a mixed color pack. We got some thyme. I just kind of mix herbs, you know, obviously tomatoes, whatever. It all goes in here. But this one is like these two towers are the ones that I want them to be super cute. This is the first year I've grown these. These are Zulu Prince Cape Daisies. Super fun. Honestly, I did not have high hopes for these because I've grown daisies before and they don't do well for me. But these have like taken over. You'll see more of them in some of the other raised beds. But like they just keep sending out more flowers. Like, so I just deadhead them all the time and pick off like the dead blooms, and then they just send more up. But they do close at night, so I grew them to be a cut flower, and I still have not cut one to put in a vase because they just like when I'm out here at the morning or evening, they're closed up. So I don't know, that makes it kind of weird. These are zinnias. I did not plant any of these zinnias. You'll see more. You'll see more back there. I didn't plant them, but they came up on their own. Mostly the Potomac lavender from Johnny's. Love them. I will grow them every year. They look so good. I take bouquets to work, and people are drawn to that one. Either that one or just go over. Oh, look how pretty that one is. I'm gonna be all over the place. I'm sorry. This is more of the straw flower, like I showed you in the greenhouse. This is what I really like to dry when they start opening like this. So unfortunately, most of the straw flowers, like the plants themselves, don't look great. And then since I am cutting all of these blooms, like kind of right at this stage really before they open, because they continue to open while they dry, so they're kind of an eyesore in these raised beds because I never let them flower here. I might as well just show you what we're looking at. These are the Rudbeckia. This is from the Cherokee Sunset. This is actually, it came back from last year, so way better. Like last year I think I got like 2 blooms, and now here we are with like this gorgeous plant. I don't know if it'll keep coming back. I think they're kind of like 2 or 3 year plants. And it was actually kind of questionable if these would live in my zone. Like normal Rudbeckia do. They do fine here. But these are, you know, specialty and more fussy. So, but I was really excited that they came back. I think it's because I mulched really well. This is mellow yellow echinacea. This one also came back, which this is so odd to me because they came out, you know, these are the original blooms that came out, and they came out this like kind of pale whitish, with like a touch of lime to them, kind of a weird color. And I was like, okay, I guess that's fine. And then the 2 newest blooms that came up are like macaroni and cheese. So I don't know. I don't know why it does that, but I guess we got macaroni and cheese color now. But I like the echinacea. I have more of them throughout here, but they're ones that I planted this year, so they won't bloom this year. Okay, so what I was saying about the snapdragons, these are the Madame Butterfly. I think they're called like, I think they're the bronze variety. We got some marigolds mixed in. The poppies, okay, these guys are such an eyesore, and honestly, like, anytime someone saw these, like, before they started blooming, people were like, that is a weed, why are you growing that? And I'm like, I planted poppies here, and I'm pretty sure those might be my poppies, but they look terrible, and they're very, very tall, but I really wanted to save these seed heads because they're fun. So as soon as these are ready, I will cut this whole thing down because I don't like it being here. I will never plant it in the front again. I didn't realize how tall they were. All right, so this bed here is mostly peppers. I tried to make the front pretty. You'll see that I try to make like the fronts look more like flower garden instead of like backyard farm, because I'm obviously in like a suburban area and don't want to look like I'm farming back here, but I kind of am. So we got flowers up front, mostly like amphrena. This is little, I think they're called like billy balls. They're craspedia. They're like little yellow balls. But they're so slow. I don't know why they're so slow. And then obviously the vinca are super happy. They've like tripled in size since I planted them out here. And then all these things with stakes are peppers. Most of them are like a Mexican variety. Like I've got like hatch chilies here, I think. We've got some different like sauce peppers basically, or like grilling peppers. This is a Tithonia. It shouldn't be here, but this is where I grew them last year, so I guess it came back from seed. We do have some like fun ornamental peppers, but they had a rough time, so they're just catching back up. There's some tall gumfrena, not the dwarf kinds that I have in the green stock. Love those. So here we've got cucumbers. Well, okay, some of these are cucumbers, and some are melons, but I'm not sure which is which. And then there's a bean at the end. Yeah, so I grew 2 different varieties of cucumbers. I'm probably gonna have way more cucumbers than I know what to do with. And then this is my rosemary that came back. Yay! They never come back for me, but this time they did. Oh, look, you can see I got some peppers. See, look at that, peppers. Oops, camera zooming. Okay. I got some more ornamental peppers here. Love these colors. We got some like lavender. And then like, oh look, we've got Dreamcatcher times crossed with the Farmer's Market jalapeno. So they're turning red, but they start out black. Those are really pretty. I got that from the Pepper Seed Exchange this year. These are really pretty. Look at that. Look how purple those are. Those will probably also ripen to red. Let's see, what is that? That's the Blue Christmas crossed with the Orange Fish. These are bigger than they were last year, so kind of excited to see those. And again, I have like flowers mixed in here. These are green beans that got fried on a really hot day, and now they're trying to recover. More of the verbena, more cilantro seeds. Again, we've got a little mutant pepper in here. That's when the leaves aren't big. Oh, hello, ant. But it's getting shaded out by everything, so I don't know how that'll do. I might have to like dig it out and move it. This is its sister plant. That's the same variety, but this one is not mutant. But look at how purple it is. I love all that purple. Okay, these are sunflowers. Looks like we're about to get a bloom. These are kind of making me sad because of how short and weak they look, but nothing has ever grown here on the side of the greenhouse before, so I'm thinking that the soil is not the best, but these are the sunflowers I'm most excited about because they're from Sunflower Steve, so they're supposed to be like really pretty multicolored ones. And I wanted them away from my other sunflowers because I want to try to have less cross-pollination. I want to save seeds from them because they're special and they'll be really pretty. Back here, so we've got another pepper green stalk. Again, I like the flowers up at the top, so we got lots of verbena, more of the status, more vinca, and then basically the whole rest of this tower is peppers. We've got a bunch of these. These are Marconi crossed with jalapeno. I think they're, actually no, yes, I think that's what that is. Yes, it gets harder and harder to find my labels. But this is, these are kind of early generations, so they might look different from each other. This is actually from below. So I have a lot of jalapenos in here. Basically, this whole tower is a jalapeno or jalapeno cross of some sort. I try to do better at organizing this year because last year I just had all sorts of peppers all over the place and there was no rhyme or reason to it. So this year I tried to group them into categories that makes more sense for me to come out here and not have to wander around finding labels before I pick stuff. Oh, look at that. See, this is what I wish I had more colors of the status, like the purples and blues. I know I can just buy the color, but I don't need to be buying more seeds. Here we've got mostly zinnias. Again, mostly the pinks and oranges. I come out here and I cut off all the ratty ones like probably twice a week, and I still have this many flowers. These make the best cutting flowers. So easy to strip the leaves off of, and they just keep growing and growing and growing. I did not plant a single one of these, believe it or not. They all came up on their own because I grew zinnias here last year. And so these all came up from seeds from my plants from last year. So that's always, you know, if you're bad at cleaning up or you're lazy, you might actually have a better garden because less work, it does it for you. And now I do have some eggplants. Here's an eggplant. Here's an eggplant. I did plant those specifically. There's a pepper that didn't have a spot to live. Oh, this is cool. I don't know if the camera will catch this. See these little bitty white dots that are kind of like on a thread? These are lacewing eggs, which lacewings are fantastic at eating aphids, which I think that little dot right there might be an aphid. So obviously a mama lacewing has graced us with her presence and laid some eggs, and eventually those will turn into little creepy looking larvae that will eat all the aphids. So they're great. If you ever see that, leave it be, because those are good guys. So all along here, I have beans. This one's actually finally trailing, but the rest of them are really slow. They don't love the heat. They like some heat, but not our heat. That's a pea plant that's probably dead soon. That right there is a squash, but it's not getting enough sun to really take off. I kind of planted it a little late. More green beans. These are actually all green beans or green bean type. This looks more like a cowpea or like a long bean. But these are all ones that I grew from like beans I purchased to eat. So they're not like, I mean, so beans you buy from the store to eat, they're seeds too. So that's what those are. This is an onion, like a green onion, that was in the green stalk last year, and it just took over and it was too big, and every time I walked past it and brushed it, it would smell like onions, and I didn't like that. So I dug it up this year, it's more than a year old, and planted it out here, and it is way happy. Here's another eggplant. I think I need a water out here. These guys look kind of sad. This is another eggplant. You're starting to see some powdery mildew on these. Zinnias are really prone to powdery mildew, so I'll probably, I don't know, leave these for another month and then cut them down and start over because it's easy enough to do. Zinnias are fast. This is a tomatillo that I dug out of the yard that just came up on its own, and I replanted it over here because this is a tomatillo variety that I actually planted. Tomatillos cannot be self-pollinated. They have to be pollinated by a different plant, like a different tomatillo. It can be the same variety, but you have to have two. You can't just plant one and get tomatillos because they're not like tomatoes and peppers. They can't do that. So yeah, look at all those zinnias. It's funny because we got like one zinnia plant that has decided to give me little pastel shades, but the rest are all like jewel tone. Kind of funny. At least it's in the back. This tower is cowpeas or black-eyed peas, and sweet potatoes. So this is an experiment. I've never grown sweet potatoes before, but I got some sweet potato slips and I was like, I'm gonna try to grow them because I know they love very high heat and humidity. And I'm like, well, I've got lots of that. So, and cowpeas are the same way. They grow like green beans, but honestly, like the leaves are way different. They're kind of rubbery. I don't know. But they do much better in the heat than normal green beans. That's my compost pile. It needs to be turned, but I am lazy. So we've got more sweet potatoes. I'm kind of doing sweet potato experiments. So I have in each one of these tiers, I have 3 different varieties. So that's why I have 3 big tiers and then 3 bags. So I have 3 sweet potatoes of each variety in each tier. So I did like every other pocket. So it's like sweet potato, bean, etc. So I have sweet potatoes in the green stock, and then I have sweet potatoes in here, same varieties. So that one's the Korean Gold, and then we've got what does it say? Pumpkin Yam, and then this one is the Lilac Beauty. So we'll see how they do. We'll see which one does better. I'm kind of excited about this. Moving on, we've got another green stock. We've got some straws coming in. Excited about that. Most of my strawberries died this year, and I was not happy about that. So this tower is mostly really hot peppers, and they got aphids really bad. You can actually see the ants all over them. I'm not going to touch this for very long or I'll be covered in ants. But if you notice, okay, camera. If you notice, some of them are kind of light colored. Let's see if I can zoom in. There we go. See how they're kind of like tan colored? That means a parasitic wasp has laid an egg in them and killed them. So the little larva will eat the aphid and I don't have to deal with aphids. So yay. But there are still obviously aphids because the ants are there taking care of them. If you see a lot of ants on your plants, you probably also have aphids. So it's kind of hard to see because there's so much foliage here, but we are starting to get peppers on some of these. I could probably pick, but I like to wait until I kind of have more because it's hard to process, you know, a pepper here, a pepper there. Got more green beans. Again, see how like unhealthy the green beans look versus how nice the cowpeas looked. It's just because of the preferences, of the weather preferences for the different types. Oh, I love this finca. Look at that. I like the dark centers. They're really pretty. I also like the white centers too with the darker, the hot pink. Just looks good. Look at that. More peppers. They're kind of small, but I always kind of end up with small ones at the start. All right, moving forward, we got more green beans. I keep looking like to see when I'm actually going to get, you know, beans from it. It just keeps growing foliage and no beans. Look at this. We got some strawberries. Probably eat that tomorrow. Yum. I got some basil. Hello, Southwest airplane. Okay. More status. This is what the status like plant looks like. Look how fun that is. And they do so well in these towers because normally if they're in the ground, like look how much spread they have. Like they just take up so much of your like ground space, but they don't really need much like root space. And then they just send up these flower stalks. So they work perfect. Like they do so well in here because they take up less room because, you know, they kind of crammed in here, but they still get enough light to produce flowers. And they don't like shade out anything because they don't like trail or get any bigger really. They like that plant won't get any bigger than that, which is great. So yeah, this is kind of some more ornamentally peppers, some Thai pepper types. Got some black, let's see, Midwest Midnight. I don't know why that one's kind of small. This tower gets more shaded than the rest because the greenhouse kind of blocks it in the afternoon, which actually might be good. Next year I might kind of plan a little differently to have more plants that really can't handle that afternoon sun. But I mean, some of them are doing so well. Like look at this plant. Sometimes you have to kind of chase them back to the base. Like this is one plant. Like look how tall that is. It's huge. So yeah, that's that tower. Those are petunias down there, but they're done blooming, so I might trim them back to see if I can force them to bloom again. We'll go ahead and do the last tower. Well, no, we got 2 more towers over there, but this one looks kind of, I mean, honestly, it looks very similar to that one over there that I already showed you. This one does have, oh, I'm not even going to say what this is called because I don't know how to pronounce it. Got some more Coleus vinca, petunias, ageratum, more verbena. I love this color. I feel like there's like a Play-Doh color that's this color, and I like it. Oh, this guy's about to open up. Pretty. I like these leaves. Look how fun that is. This is my favorite marigold. It's called the Orange Flame. Very, very nice. It stays kind of more compact and bushy. Like the plant gets big, but it doesn't get like tall and unruly. So I really, really love this marigold. So it works well in here. Love that purple petunia down there. Very fun. This is borage. I've been relocating them all over my yard because last year I grew them in raised beds and they took over. If they're in good soil at all, they will take up half of a raised bed in no time at all and nothing else will grow under them. So I've moved them out of the way, and honestly it keeps them smaller because they don't like growing in straight clay, but they do anyways. But the bees love them. So some of these self-seeded here and I left them, and some of them I've moved. They transplant okay. They're not great. These are all cosmos that came up on their own. I did not plant those. Bees love them. I do have to deadhead them very regularly because they look rough pretty quick. Got some more snapdragons in here that I transplanted out in like, I don't know, late February. So they've been here a while. Yeah, so the whole front of this bed here used to be pansies. I can show you that. They turned out really pretty. But this white plant here, this alyssum, kind of took over, which was actually good. I think it extended the amount of time that they could stay alive because they can't handle the heat here. But about a week and a half ago, I went ahead and pulled them all because they started to look bad. Like these are pansies, and they're looking very bad. They hate this. They hate how hot it is here. So I will be pulling these out and planting something else. So here in this bed, that's what I did exactly, is I pulled all of the pansies, or petunias. Oh my gosh, pansies. I was right the first time. Pansies. I pulled them out, and I have planted zinnias. So you can see little bitty sprouts. Those are all zinnias that I grew from seed, seriously, a week ago. They're fast. So this will all be pretty eventually, but right now it's not. This is new this year. I had grow bags here last year. And then this year I grew a bunch of plants in milk jugs. And if you don't know how that works, it's called winter sowing. There's a lot of videos out there. Very, very cool. You just mostly it's best for perennials, plants that like some cold stratification or that are kind of natives. You plant them in the winter in milk jugs and just leave them out to the elements, and they grow when they're ready to grow, and then you can transplant them out. But it protects them because it kind of gives it a little greenhouse effect. So all of these plants here and all the plants in this raised bed here came from milk jugs. So we've got some rudbeckia, we've got lupin, we've got, this one was so pretty, a penstemon, but I am letting it go to seed because I would love more of them. It did really well. It was so pretty. We got yarrow. This is yarrow too. Actually, this yarrow has been in this grow bag. I moved it over here from my old house, and it has just lived in here nonstop for probably 5 years, and it just comes back every year. We got coreopsis. This one's doing really well. We've got some more rudbeckia back there. Just a mix of stuff. But I moved all the grow bags. The soil, all the grass had been killed off here, so I was like, I guess I'll just plant them here and see how they do, in ground, because I have a lot of perennials that are in these raised beds, and then that makes it really hard to plan a garden around that because I've got plants that have to overwinter in there, and I can't just clear the bed and plant new stuff like I would like to. We'll take a quick 1-minute break because sirens are going off. Hold on. Okay, so anyways, these are all mostly perennials that I grew in a milk jug. Not the cosmos, so these are the cosmos. These all just came up on their own from seed. So what have we got here? These are bachelor buttons. This is calendula. They don't really like the heat, so they're about done. This is toothache plant. So apparently if you chew on these, your mouth will go numb. But I have not tried that, I'll be perfectly honest. But they do really well in the milk jugs, and then planted out, they're cute. They stay pretty dwarf. I think next year I'll try to grow them in the green stock and see how they do. This is scabiosa. It's just now starting to bloom. I have another one over here that will be black. I just have like a mixed pack, so they're kind of like, there's like reds and pinks, and then obviously I have some whitish, bluish ones. This is Sorrente or honeywort, something like that. They're really pretty. More zinnias that came up on their own. I did not plant those. This is lemon bee balm. The bees and pollinators absolutely love it, and I think it looks like a Dr. Seuss plant. I think it's so cute out here. And obviously they've spread themselves throughout. I had some really pretty larkspur right there. You can pretend it's still there, but I don't know if the heat did it in or it's just done. Like it's already bloomed. You can see the little seed pods. In the back there, that dark foliage, that is, those are dahlias that I grew from seed. This one's starting to bloom. They're a lot smaller than I expected. So I don't know if that's normal of dahlias grown from seed. Apparently it has formed a tuber. So I will be able to dig it up at the end of the year, store it inside, and plant it out next year. So maybe it'll be bigger next year. I don't know. It does get too cold here in the winter to just leave them out. So I will have to dig those up and bring them in. I've got like feverfew in here, multiple different kinds of calendula. We've got, I don't even remember what this is, to be honest. This is chamomile. It makes really good tea. I need to come out here and harvest these. These don't like the heat, so these will be gone soon. Yeah, I don't remember what everything is. I had it labeled at one point, and then I just planted it out here all crazy. These things are like it's Queen Anne's lace, or like an ornamental carrot called Ami, Dara Ami. And I grew it one time 2 years ago, and now, if you can see, I planted 0 of them. Last year they came back really strong. Not came back, they grow from seed, but they produce a lot of seed. And this year, basically anywhere I haven't mowed, they've taken over. So this is where they started from, right here. I grew one plant, and all of this has happened from one plant. So if you want a plant that just comes back every year and you don't have to do anything about it, highly recommend. This is a tomato that looks like it probably wants water. It's Shimafuri. It's a Japanese variety that's supposed to be a cascading type. I don't know if I believe it. I feel like all vining tomatoes will fall over like this. It was variegated when it was small, and now it's not. So I don't know. I guess it didn't like being variegated. But it is producing tomatoes. I've already picked some. I've taken them inside. I have not tasted them yet, but it's a cool plant. We'll see. We'll go over here. I know I'm just going all over the place. These are my retaining wall peppers. We got the Mirasol, so they point up to the sun. They're very big and they're tasty in sauce. I love these. I grew them last year. They did super well. Oh, hello, bunny. You scared me. We got a lot of wild bunnies out here. Got a pepper here. Look at this guy. So this is called Purple Smudge Gold. I wish the sun was shining on it right now. This only gets afternoon sun. Here, we can kind of pull it into the sun. But look how vibrant this purple is. It is so cool. So I grew this Purple Smudge Gold. This is new for me this year. I only grew one plant. This is a jalapeno, and this is also a jalapeno. And then I also grew blot Cleasca, don't know. But they looked so similar in the pictures that I was like, is this the same kind of pepper as the purple smudge gold? And it does look similar, but this one's like all purple. So, and it has a more blunt end. But both of these are supposed to be sweet. But honestly, I grew both just so I could compare them to see if they're the same. But see, I mean, it's very similar. So they've got to be like related, right? And then down here we've got tomatoes. So these are all, everything along this fence line that's a tomato is a dwarf tomato, not a micro dwarf and not a mini dwarf, but just a dwarf. So they're all from the Dwarf Tomato Project. If you ever are interested in dwarf tomatoes, they're tomatoes that get like between 3 and 5 feet tall. Definitely do some Google searching on the Dwarf Tomato Project because it is way cool. It's like a community sourced tomato genetics project. Very, very cool for anyone that's nerdy. But most of these dwarf tomatoes do produce full-size tomatoes, but they don't vine and flop around everywhere. Like they're well behaved. We got some volunteer sunflowers. I will cut those down. So eventually all this Dara on me, as much as I love it, and I mean, you can see the pollinators are crazy for it. It brings in a ton of wasps, which you would think is bad, but wasps are good, especially like these little guys. Like they're not going to sting you. They're just, but they kill caterpillars that kill your plants, so I like them. It brings in so many pollinators. It's so popular. Back here, I've got peppers. Most of this is peppers. Now, you'd think that they don't get enough sun back there, but actually, so I will be cutting all of this kind of at slightly above grow bag height, because my problem is grow bags dry out really, really fast here. And so I've kind of let this all grow here so that it will shade the bags, but I don't want it shading the plants. So, but I'm obsessed with these flowers, so I don't want to cut them all down. But I don't want them to go to seed like this again, because I don't need literally a billion of them next year. So I'll be cutting them down so that the plants can get more sun, but that the bags get shade. That is my goal. Swim through here. So we got tomatoes. So I just have like some animal fencing panel stuff that I've zip tied to the fence because it helps support the tomatoes. So I kind of did like dwarf tomato, pepper, dwarf tomato, pepper. And I mostly have like hot peppers through here. So we got like our gator jigsaw here. And then I also have some determinate tomatoes here. Determinate tomatoes are different from dwarf tomatoes. They do stay short like dwarf tomatoes, so they seem similar, but they kind of have like see how that one has like a taller growth habit. Like it's not dwarfed, but it will grow to a certain height, probably about where it is. It will put out a bunch of tomatoes at once, ripen them all at once, and then it'll be done. And I'll cut the tomato out and grow something else there. The dwarves continue to produce, but they stay short. So, I don't know. Pretty cool. Here's more dwarf tomatoes. This one's actually getting some tomatoes. This one's the cream sausage. Sounds gross, but it's a good paste tomato that's like a light. It ends up like a very light creamy yellow color. This one's cool. This is the first year I've grown this. This is called the Woolly Kate. And it's named that because look at these leaves. They're so fuzzy. It kind of has like a different color to them than the other ones. Those are my irises. This is Tithonia, Mexican sunflower. These get huge, but I transplanted them really late, so these might be stunted. You can see one over there, that bright orange thing. But normally they get huge. This corner is so pretty with the Dara, and then those are my sunflowers. I did not plant them. They came back from last year. You can see like my privacy fence is 6 feet tall, and they're already over that, and they haven't started blooming yet, but you can see that some of them have buds on them. So they will be pretty. I don't know what colors they'll be, probably yellow. We have another one here that's just a volunteer sunflower that's right in the ground. Yeah, so, okay, so here's a good example. This is a dwarf tomato, but look how big that tomato is. Like it's a normal sized tomato, but it's on a small plant. So love that. We've got some butterfly pea is what that is. I've never grown it, but it makes like blue tea. And it's supposed to vine, but so far it hasn't really felt like doing so. It might not get enough sun here. All this purple stuff is verbena. I know I said verbenas in the tower, but those are dwarf verbenas. These are a different kind. Brazilian vervain is what it's called, and they get huge. So this grew here last year, and it was really tidy and cute, and it fit in between my peppers just nicely. And I was like, cool, I'll leave it there. It came back this year, and it has taken up like half the bed. So next year I will be digging it up and putting it somewhere else, but I don't want to hurt it now because the bees and butterflies are obsessed with it. So I'm leaving it for now, but next year it won't be here. All of this stuff is my dill. It's flowering and it's going to seed. So like this one over here is seeds. This one's almost seeds. But these all came back from doing this exact same thing last year. It's just letting them fall. They come up on their own. I don't plant them. I don't do any work. I'm kind of lazy. But they're really well behaved. I actually had some caterpillars, some black swallowtail caterpillars on them earlier in the spring. And because this is one of their host plants, they like dill and they like parsley and I think they like fennel. Those are kind of their main host plants. So as sad as it is that like when dill goes to seed, it doesn't like you don't want to eat that. It's not really tasty as an herb anymore, but it's great for the pollinators. And I mean, you can still use the seeds. It's a flavoring too. But it's actually really pretty. Like from my house, like looking out the window, I can see it. It's, you know, just big pillowy yellow flowers. It's really cute. Here we've got more kale, and for some reason the caterpillars don't like this one as much. So that's great for me. Or maybe it's just hidden enough back here that they don't see it. This tower, for some reason, is doing really well with peppers. Like, look at this. This is a Brian's blood pepper, and it's variegated. Look how, like, bold those stripes are. I'll definitely be saving seeds from these because very pretty. I thought they were bigger. Last year, I think mine were bigger. But I kind of just prefer the pretty look over the bigger ones that are less pretty. Down there, we've got dragon toes. So these are, like, past ripe. Like, they should have gone inside already. I just haven't picked them. I need to do that. Let's see, we got some nanner jammers. Tasty little guys. I'm waiting for them to turn red to pick them. Oh, we got a little guy in here. What are you? You are Santa Fe Grande. Those are not very grande. Last year they were grande. This is from Save Seed. I think the reason they're smaller is because they're kind of shaded out in this tower. I don't know. No, that's something else. That's Mocha Swirl, which is also supposed to be variegated, and maybe that's variegation. Very faint if so. I had rough time with germination on these, but anyways, Santa Fe Grande, those are good. So they start out like this white color or yellowy color, and then they ripen to red. I do have some nasturtium. Now, nasturtium is the one flower that everyone else claims they have wild success with and that it takes over their garden, and I struggle so hard to grow it. It is like the plant that hates my yard. So this is one of the only ones that's still alive, and I'm pretty sure this is like the third flower it's made for me. They are not happy in my yard. I don't know what it is. So I'll probably just use up the rest of the packets that I have and probably not grow it again because it disappoints me and makes me sad every year. I'm going about this so weird. I'm all over the place. Look at how cute this guy is. Does he have a label? No, he doesn't have a label. But look how cute that is. All that purple. And I like these kind of dwarf ones. I do try to take notes of which ones stay more compact because they do great on the like top tier of these greenstock towers. And I really like that. I've got some space peppers in here. So these are Big Bang. These are the peppers that the seeds, look at that twist. It's like a pretzel twist. These are seeds that I guess a Chinese scientist sent to the space station and grew plants technically in space. And to get, more mutations from, I guess radiation. And then, they developed, they stabilized 10 different varieties from that, or 10 that I know of. But this one's the Big Bang. It'll turn red. And then this one, nope, that's a cayenne. Where'd we go? Oh, solar flare. So Hangzhou space pepper. This one's just starting, but I grew it last year and loved it. This one's the only one that's yellow from the space pepper project. This is another solar flare. I don't know why it's further behind. Normally, this one's really prolific. I love this one. I made a salsa with it last year, like a yellow salsa, and it was so good. They're kind of, they're like cayenne spiciness. That one's probably my favorite. We got some Fresnos in here that are actually ripening, or ripened. I don't know why. This happened last year too. Fresno is my fastest ripening pepper. Like they ripen up really fast, like faster than jalapenos. I do have some Thai peppers in here. There's a yellow Nardello instead of the Jimmy Nardello. This is from the Jimmy Nardello, but it turns yellow. And then we've got some mini dwarf tomatoes on the bottom here. So we've got Audrey Love, or these two. Oh no, so we've got Blossom End Rot here. Stripy paste tomato, but it's in a like dwarf form. So the plant itself won't get much bigger than this. So it actually behaves very well in the bottom of this tower. Look at that cayenne, so long. Cayenne long Joe's. Joe's long. Cayenne Joe's long. Oh, this one. This is probably one of my favorite dwarf tomatoes. I grew it last year and it did really well. It's called 1999. Not sure why. But unfortunately, I don't really have any good ripe ones to show you because I took those inside and ate them already. But they have like purple on the shoulders and then they're yellow. And they're very, very good. But like if they get a lot of sun, then they're like more purple. Very prolific and very tasty. Oh my goodness, now we have some raised beds. These are the Purple Prince snapdragons. They're pretty much done. I've been cutting off the tops to let them keep blooming. They're a shorter variety than my other snapdragons, but they've done really well. I really like that color. They're like velvety. I have more ageratum, that blue in there. Lots of straw flowers are in here, but again, I pick those as soon as they start blooming, so they don't look very good, unfortunately. More dill. This one's a little slower behind, but it also came up from seed. More onions. I've already picked my big onions. They're already all out of the beds and they're curing. But these are light green onions. Got more calendula. The white flowers are alyssum. Then we've got basil over here. Let's zoom in. Basil is always one of my number one like bee favorites. They are obsessed with basil that flowers. Well, I mean all basil flowers, but normally you would like want to eat it. But this is like a Thai basil, and it just comes back every year. And I don't really harvest from it much because I let it grow all over the place, and I have more than I know what to do with. Now here on my arches are tomatoes. These are indeterminate tomatoes, so they get huge, they grow forever, and they just fine. So unfortunately, they kind of flop more than I would have liked, but I have been trying to like weave them up the trellis so that eventually they'll be like, ooh, and I can pick them. They're kind of slow though. We got one little guy in here. This is a pink tiger. This is one of my all-time favorites. It's so good. It tastes really good. It doesn't have a lot of seeds in it and a lot of juice, but it's just like a good flavor. This one's the purple tomato. So it's like, oh no, it's splitting. Hello. Sometimes I have to like remember to look at my camera instead of look at what I'm looking at and then just holding my camera in random places. But the inside of this, here, I'll just take a bite. So, inside of that, fully purple. This is the GMO tomato. This one's really small. Normally they're bigger than this, but this one's small for some reason. A lot of people complain that it's not very tasty, but I think it's fine. I mean, it's not the best tomato I've ever had. It's not bad either, and it makes a cool sauce. More tomatoes. These are more dwarf tomatoes. More of those butterfly pea, blue flowers, little vine. We've got more. That tomato right there is a dwarf. I think it's like a wild Fred or something. That's what it's called. That one broke in half entirely, completely broke. And I just stuck it back in the dirt and it formed new roots. And look how heavy it is. So it does just fine. Even if you break your tomatoes, they will forgive you. So just plant them again anyways. Back there, I'm not going to go over there, but that orange that you see is my milkweed plant. This is on its third year. Doing really well. I've cut back the blooms this year, so like once it starts to, once the flowers fade, I trim them back because I got so many seed pods last year and they were just flying around everywhere. So I'm good on seeds for a bit. So I'm just trimming those back. Got more dwarf tomatoes back there. Those are like the Rosella purple. I've heard those are really good. What do we got here? This one also started out variegated, but it's kind of not variegated anymore. This is called the Gandalf, and honestly, I bought it for the name. Uh-oh, just broke something. So it's kind of stripy, so I'm guessing it will be red and gold too. Pretty excited for that one. As a dwarf. And then we've got peppers in here. All these grow bags are peppers. And then these are tomatoes that have volunteered, and look how huge they are. This one, it actually has, there's a small cage in there, and it quickly outgrew it and just went wild. And so I had to get a bigger cage and put over the cage because I couldn't remove the original cage. And so this is like a currant type, not like current as in now, but currant. I don't know. It's like a wild type, so it stays really small. I don't like this. This is as big as they get right here, but they are insanely prolific, and they are so sweet when they turn like a creamy yellow color, and because it's called the white currant tomato, and they turn creamy white yellow when they're ready, and they are so sweet that like you don't think you're eating a tomato. I don't know how else to describe that. Like I fed it to people and they don't believe me that it's a tomato because it doesn't taste like a tomato. Good for sauces if you like sweet things. These are all peppers, except for in the middle I had an extra dahlia. So that's a dahlia. That's another dwarf tomato. More dill. God, it's like getting harder and harder to get through here because this is a mess. And you know, I've seen videos of people that do the trellising tomatoes thing, and it looks much more well behaved than what I've got going here. Like I can't even fit the mower through here anymore. So this is just a mess. I have to like hand pull all this. But we've got 3 tomatoes on this side, 3 tomatoes on this side, and they are going up, but they're also going out. So we'll see. This is a scarlet runner bean. They don't like heat, so I haven't gotten any pods from them, and they bloom a little bit and then they kind of stop. I don't know if I'll get anything from them or not, but they are pretty. This one actually got started a lot earlier, so it's doing well. So it's actually trailing, but it also is not giving me beans, which is sad. This is probably my biggest dwarf tomato right now. It's doing well, but it still hasn't made me any tomatoes. This is all peppers. These are all Scotch bonnet varieties. I got a bunch of Scotch bonnets in the seed exchange, and I've decided to grow at least one of each so that I can compare them. So I'm kind of excited to try that because Scotch bonnet is one of my favorites. This is Agastaki, and it smells so good. It's in the mint family, but it doesn't take over like mint. Like this is year 2, but it's very well contained. Like you can see where it hits the ground. Like I could pull this out if I wanted to, but I don't want to because it smells heavenly. And then these are last year's plants. Another dwarf tomato. I had onions here, some red onions, but I've already pulled them out to give this guy some more space, more sun. I'm growing more verbena here that will have to come out. Again, look how healthy those Scotch bonnets are. So excited. And they are starting to make little fun pods. So that'll be cool. I can already tell differences in some of these plants. So I'm excited to see the variety. I wish I'd cleaned this up before I started this video. This is Gaillardia, but it's like the Arizona Sun, which is kind of a more dwarf variety. So they stay really compact. This is year 2 for this plant. This was also grown in a milk jug. I normally try to pick these seed heads. They're good. They're pretty good reseeders, or at least if you want to collect the seeds and start more. But I just pick all these off, and then look, it just like keeps blooming. Like this has been blooming for like more than a month now of just solid, gorgeous blooms all the time. The pollinators love it. It's a good one. This is more of the Madame Butterfly Snapdragon, which is about done. More of these Cape Daisies, more zinnias that came up. There's a straw flower that I haven't picked yet. Calendula, and these are all bachelor buttons through here. This like blue and purple. Those I grew from seed. Most of this is from seed. We've got petunias in the front here. Again, this was way prettier like several weeks ago, but it's just too hot now for petunias to really do well. I'll probably in a couple weeks give them a hard prune back, let them recover, and then they'll bloom again in the fall. More borage that I did not plant. It's just coming up on his own. The bunnies like to hide in here. But yeah, pollinators love them. Bees are all over them all the time. The flowers are actually pretty tasty. You can eat them. They taste like cucumbers. There's one coming up in between these bags. So I have 9 bags here and then 9 bags in the back. They are 7-gallon grow bags. That just came up from the ground underneath and it's actually like really big and healthy because when I water the bags, they drain really quickly. So it's like really moist under there. But I'm letting it be. I kind of tear off some leaves if they start shading the peppers, but I do like that it shades part of the bags. So it helps me. It helps me. Again, you can see that stupid tomato, but I don't know. It takes over. At least it's not completely in the pathway, so I'll let it be. I have another purple tomato growing in here. This one was started from a cutting. That's why it's way smaller than the rest. But it'll be happy there, I think. I've kind of overcrowded my beds, if you can't tell, so I do have to water them really often, and that's kind of a hassle, and they probably don't get as much of the nutrients and stuff that they need, but I just cannot resist growing everything, as you can tell. I like to grow everything. So that is my garden. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll see you guys next time.